Hello, hello, hello. There we go. This is registering as having audio. Right, let's switch to the broadcast view. There we go. Right, hello everybody. I've not done any streams for a while, but I decided I'm just feeling like it today. It's not been the best of days. I want something to take my mind off things. So let's play, or try to play. Where's my toy? Some Boogie Wings. I almost did a stream of this for Christmas because Boogie Wings is one of those games where there's an entire Christmas themed level. Although in the end I didn't get around to that, I was a bit busy. It's also one I'll be covering in my write-up for the year, when a video even, when I get around to that, because there's been some improvements, some of which you'll see shortly. This whole shadow thing here under the plane was not previously emulated under the big boss here. So I was going through the various improvements over the year, and noticed this was one of the ones, along with Night Slashes, that I actually did get some coverage to at the time. And just little blending effects really add to the game, I think. I think maybe it's a little too intense, but it still looks. It's a nice effect to have, and you can tell that Data East put a fair bit of time into making this game look good. And also chaotic, which is maybe what it's better known for. You pick anything up with this hook, and if you're any good at the game, and use it as a weapon. So, how is everybody? Is there anybody else in the chat? I can see Xkeeper and Johnny AFC. Have either of you played? This is Boogie Wings, a Data East arcade game from the early 90s. Very over-the-top shooter. Many of their games are underrated. And I think this one was quite an expensive. This one was quite an expensive board, so didn't see that wide distribution. And by this time, I think Data East was struggling a little bit anyway. After, I think this was this after the issues with Fighters History and Capcom. I can't remember. Yeah, I guess it's the whole biplane thing, isn't it? Although I don't, you pick up Santa Claus here. I don't know if there is a dinosaur level in this. I can't remember. But yeah, it just had that feel to it. There were a couple of arcade games with similar types of craft. I think Acrobatic Dogfight is another, although that's much. That one is a much older game. But here, if you lose your plane in this, you can get in the ground vehicles, and there's a good variety of those. I don't know how you eject, I can't remember. May have not be looking. And greeting to Masked Ninja as well. Good to see you here. Have any of you been playing any games lately? We've got a new MAME coming out fairly soon. We've hit the freeze period. I think it should be next Wednesday. It should be out. Yeah, it's one of those that often gets recommended along with Out Foxy's as being just a ridiculously over-the-top game where everything blows up, and I think that works for arcade games. If you go into an arcade, you want something fancy, flashy, over-the-top, something memorable, something you weren't going to get on the home systems at the time, and I think this one really delivers. That's a really, yeah, there we go. I have to remember to use everything against the end. Oh dear. Come on. No. Oh, Pang. Pang is a good one. Which version of Pang? The original or the Mighty? I like Mighty Pang, the CPS one. I'm not really keen on the art style, but in terms of the level design and the games, it's all good. Oh, and yeah, a bit of Monkey Island. Can't beat a bit of Monkey Island. probably not going to be playing any Monkey Island on this stream. It's one that's requires a bit more effort to be setting up, probably in ScumVM or an Amiga emulator or something like that. Weren't there quite a few SNES games which didn't have 2-player? I seem to remember. Some maybe a performance reason. But yeah, I mean, you don't want a Pang without 2-player. I think, does the Amstrad CPC version have 2-player? I know it's an excellent port, the GH4000 one. It's an excellent port. I think it has 2-player. So it's a bit inexcusable if the SNES version doesn't. I've not played the SNES version. I didn't even know it was on the SNES actually. Yeah. Ooh, come on. So, are the volume levels okay for everybody? Because it's very difficult for me to tell. Headphones are sort of very loud and It's I'm not reporting any problems. Only very few drop frames, which I think were at the start of the screen. So I don't know. YouTube can be like that sometimes, and I'm not sure. If it doesn't get better, or you can't switch it back to a better mode, then I don't know what I can do actually. I might have to restart the stream if that's the case, try a lower setting, but the levels in this are quite long as well, and I'm not really paying attention. So, there we go, a nice red flashy effect. The red flashy effect always here, but yeah, I could blame Virgin, I could blame the wireless setup here. It's a bit of a pain to get everything wired in. And I've had to change the wireless adapter recently because a Windows 10 update just made my old one not work at all properly. It just kept cutting out on everything. So, I think Phil, I think Cam's improvements from last year helped. I was showing the shadow effect on the first stage that was missing before his improvements earlier in the year. It might be a bit too intense. I think some of the blending levels aren't quite right, but there are definitely effects that are better than they were. Previously the explosions were really washed out, and if you look at the PCB videos, they weren't, but there aren't many good quality videos. I found some on a Nico video. They feel like 240p upscaled, and the compression sort of ruins them. So if you've got the PCB and fancy recording a full run of it in good quality, I think that might be a useful reference, because the use of the effects is very subtle in places. You don't even realise they're missing until you've seen they're meant to be there. And obviously with so much going on, it's also very easy to miss the little things. I know the audio is a little skippy. I'm trying to I've enabled the sync refresh, because otherwise it starts skipping in Windows instead. I need my playing back. I can't beat this guy with. Here's your evil Santa. Alright, I hope your shopping trip goes alright. Not the best way to be shopping. Yeah, this game's for 2-player, and it's even more manic with 2 players on the screen at once, obviously. Yeah, you got Happy Santa, not so. Can I pick these up? I can't remember. No. I don't know what's going on with the Konami ones, the games. I mean, Olivia always manages to get sidetracked by something or the other, and it's almost his project. Too laggy? I don't know. I think I mean, there aren't any official main network play solutions. People have used screen sharing software, but I think that's usually pretty laggy too. I've not really got any suggestions for that one. At least, I mean, I'm assuming you're talking online, because I don't think RetroArch should be laggy for local play. I know it's got its problems, but there we go. This is Boogie Wings. Oh, I thought. Data East game. It's one of my favourites if I have to pick games. In general, I go for a lot of. I think USA. Are you in the USA? Are you over here in the UK or in the USA as well? I think anything over, over a different. Yeah, anything UK to USA is going to be inherently a bit laggy. I think it's. You can't get away from the simple data speed, transfer speeds. Just picking up bits of Santa. And there we go. There is the real Santa in the background. I mean, I did a few live streams last year, but it's Boogie Wings, also known as the Great Ragtime Show. It's a Data East title. I did used to have a My Now Playing display on there, but I've obviously not put it up. Shall we go with Detroit Rock City and for this one? Oh, absolutely. If you like shooters and have the time to dedicate to it, it's one of the best, one of my favourites. There's so much variety in the game, the levels. Obviously, I'm not doing it full justice on the stream because I'm not paying full attention, and multitasking playing games is not something I've ever really mastered. But I'm surprised more people don't know it. I think there are that many games, good games, they can end up lost, and that is one of the things I would, if I do streams, I do like to play games like this, where I think people enjoy this, but they might not have seen it, they might not know about it. And also, how are things in Argentina? I guess you've got the same issues as everywhere else in the world at the moment. And yeah, all the machines and the custom designs do have that Metal Slug feel as well. I think that was one of the things I did really enjoy about Metal Slug, is just playing through it to see what all the different vehicles were. And if you've ever played the previous things like Gallop and In the Hunt with the same visual style as Metal Slug, then all that artwork is just fantastic. I might put Gallop on in a bit actually, because that's one of the lesser known ones, I think, that's very similar style. Even outside of the arcade games, I mean, a lot of what we've been doing in MAME over the last couple of years is non-arcade, and there's so many things that I'm seeing for sale, and I think I never knew that existed, and then we're getting them, we're managing to get some of them dumped, and that was interesting to me. So I can do this stage. Some of the multi-games, they might be throwaway devices, but the Conny VideoJet PDC one, there's the odd interesting game in there. And they even did a touchscreen version with like 40 touch games. And there's no footage of them on YouTube, nothing. We bought them up thinking, well, what are these going to be like? And we're pleasantly surprised. This is Boogie Wings. I really should put that display on there somewhere, but I didn't, so yeah. But yeah, if you want the Japanese version, it's called The Great Ragtime Show. I don't think there were any major differences between the versions in this case, but yeah, you can pick up so many, well, when you're in the plane, you can even pick the bomb up when you're on the ground, but you can pick so many little things up. I have no idea. I'm not a musician or a lyricist. So if somebody else wants to, then you've got some sort of old Detroit rock soundtrack that would fit the level. No, I don't know. Oh, there we go. I decided to chop a bit off my hair yesterday, in fact, because it was starting to get annoying. So it just feels very short now. It used to be sort of down here. Yeah, they were trying to mix all sorts of things in. If you're good at the game, you're not going to be on the ground very often, but at the same time, you know, all these different vehicles on the ground have got their own attack patterns. This one's launching the missiles up into the sky, and they have their uses. As others have said already, very similar to Outfoxes and the craziness. Outfoxes was pure platformer arena fighter game. Yeah, I have a MAME Haze account on Twitch too, although I've used that even less frequently. I should really use it more, but for today I just decided I'll go with the YouTube. I think I'm going to have to alternate between them. Typically I was going to use the YouTube just for the offline videos. I don't know, the OBS setup I've got for Twitch is even more out of date than this one, because I was updating this one a little bit to record some bits and pieces, and I keep them in portable folders rather than anything else, just so that I've got different copies for different things like offline recording and YouTube and Twitch. Twitch, a lot of people find Twitch has got far lower latency, although I think YouTube can be quite good, because if I'm watching, you know, big live streams, he's getting maybe 2-3 seconds at worst. But I know previously YouTube used to be quite bad. You could get like a 10, 15, 20 second delay, which made interacting with people much trickier. Twitch was built for streaming, whereas YouTube was obviously has added streaming afterwards, and I think people like the community features on Twitch a bit better, or you know, the custom graphics and things. No, I'm from Derby, so it's a bit of a different accent, but it's still Midlands. Just gonna take a drink. Yeah, I'm going to quit out of Boogie Wings for now. So yeah, Boogie Wings is it's one of those ones that I'll always play a little bit of, and I always enjoy it. I'm going to have a look at a game that I was thinking of while playing that, which again I'm not so sure about. Dogfight. Here we go. Acrobatic Dogfight, Technos. So, as you can see, it's got a similar style to the visuals. Coin it up, but it's a much older game. This is an 80s one. It also seems a bit quieter. But again, it's cartoony, craft, flying around. Loop the loops. A bit more Time Pirate maybe, but with a cartoony feel to it. I think it's another one of those that's lost. It might not be the best game in the world. It's been in MAME for years. It's not a new one. I'm not even sure I remember exactly what you do. It's got a start and a goal. Might just be a case of flying along, but yeah, probably. I think every PCB is getting to the point of ridiculous. So many are just being used for parts, or just not being sold because people are keeping them in their collections. There's plenty that I can't even always remember the titles for, but occasionally I remember them and play them. again here, you've got the ability to jump out your craft at times. That's probably one reason it reminds me of Boogie Wings. But so you get another, run out, get another plane. You can only do that a limited number of times, I think. Hey Johnny, thank you for joining. This is Acrobatic Dogfight. Were you here for Boogie Wings? Or have you just joined? But, yeah, I don't always know what people want to see in terms of games on this kind of stream. Alright, well, thank you for dropping in. And there we go, some flying, I guess they... Oh, splat. See, that's got a very old cartoon style to it. Kind of, sort of Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote splatting again onto the ground look. I don't think I'm very close to the goal. Hey Pedro. Thank you for joining in the chat. And the stream, of course. You're more than... well, I don't look like Jesus so much anymore because I've cut my hair, so I don't know if I can still bless you. But I'll try. If you need a blessing. But, I don't remember the bit about Jesus dyeing his hair and cutting it and. Come on, no, oh dear. I think there's less to show of this game, or I'm just not good enough to get anywhere in it. I don't know if this is the first level. Anything from Alistair? I don't do so much of the actual PCB reservation. Phil, who's in the chat, tends to repair PCBs for people. I mean, it's a Friday night. I'm tempted to say some vodka. So, but no, I don't know. I probably save the drinking for when I'm watching other people's streams later. I mean, we've got... I think it is Friday, isn't it? I don't know what to... It is indeed Friday. I thought it was Friday. I wasn't entirely sure. So, I'll be watching Nicky and Bunty's stream later. About I think they start about 9 o'clock. Maybe Zypho after that because he's usually streaming CP stuff until late into the night. You see, we've got different enemy types here. No, it doesn't feel like a Friday. I mean, the whole lockdown situation is doing absolutely no good for any kind of body clock. It's... just how it is at the moment. I think it's one reason I wanted to do a stream. I'm not a very good gamer. I like the games as an art form. I like the ideas that go into them. But even when I'm giving a game my full concentration, I'm not usually that good at it. So I'm more developer ideas. No, there is no crack here. I mean, so oh, you were talking to Romania. I don't know. I just I just get on with things. I found that I could work out how to emulate things in MAME, and I've just sort of got on with it for most part of 20 years. I think a lot more people could be doing it than actually do it. Most for the first sort of 10 years, I didn't even understand most of the assembly code. I was just looking at the log files and working things out based on the behaviour, where things were writing, what looked like videos. video rights, sound rights. Although, I mean, more recently, especially with non-video stuff, the fruit machines I've been looking at, you really have to study the code, and some of those are really nasty pieces of code to try and study, sort of multitasking all over the place, and trying to make sure they're processing everything that's going on and running a lot of things in the interrupts. I don't think it really matters if people know who I am or don't. I'm just, you know, playing some games on the stream, and I think we'll actually get... Okay, yeah, was that a dinosaur that was chasing me? I think it was. The Q sound has been emulated for a long time, but there were some big improvements to it a couple of years ago, which added the whole spatial effects that were missing before. If you're not expecting it, you're probably not going to notice. But if you heard the original boards and the output and the subtleties of the 3D spacing, then you do really know, you appreciate the improvements that have gone on. Sometimes it'd be good if it was just somebody else's code with comments and everything else. With emulation, you're just facing a disassembly of the thing. You have to write your own comments. You have to break things down. You have to try and work out what was going on. Let's quit out of this game. Shall I just load up MAME and see if anything takes my fancy? There's a lot of things in here. Hold on. I should have really got the... actually, yeah, we were talking about Pang earlier. I know what I'm going to do. Here we go. Version of Pang you might not be familiar with. This is the one on the Amstrad GX4000, which, considering the machine was a massive failure, is a good port. Although I'm not really sure why the music sounds like Puff the Magic Dragon. So yeah, this does have two-player support. It's got the two-player lines right down there. So while apparently a SNES can't do two-player Pang, the old 8-bit GX4000 can. It's not saying... I was looking at the chat. It's not saying much. I think with the system becoming more popular these days, we're going to see more good developments on it. But if you're talking about games from back in the day, then yeah, this one is definitely the most easily playable. Hand optimized assembly is usually not as bad as C generated assembly. You can find code that the function of is so obfuscated just because it's been compiled, and you've got massive functions that ultimately do nothing. It was one of the issues I've been having with working out some of the plug and plays based on the Sun Plus General Plus GPO 16250. There are functions to add two numbers together, and the sign extending numbers all over the place, and you've got 200 lines of code to add two numbers together. Oh yeah, the CPC port Pinball Dreams, that doesn't run in MAME, unfortunately. Right, how bad can you be at Pang? And this is what happens if I don't concentrate. I am usually good at Pang. I mean, the Robocop port, let's say it was okay. I just don't think it was the best game in the first place. I think trying to play this on an analog stick is not helping either, and the movement's very imprecise. I like crabs. I don't want to kill the crab. I mean, it's friendly crab. But yeah, for an 8-bit port, this, you know, it's a really good port. You wouldn't think it was an 8-bit port of the game. It's even using the low resolution mode, but because the art is so well drawn, you don't really notice. I mean, I did like the packing game Burning Rubber as well. I really like that as a racing game. A lot of people complain about the frame rate and the car feeling very weighty, but I think that's the idea. You learn to drive it. So the same complaint was levelled at GTA 4. The cars all felt very tricky to drive, especially at first, but it gives them character. It makes you feel like you're controlling something with a bit of weight behind it. Yeah, it was released far too late, and I mean, you can't say much else about it. Obviously, whoever was making the decisions wasn't really fully in touch with what people wanted, or where the market was going, or they thought they could release something and it would be more successful than it was. I've not tried looking at the code for any Westwood things. Is that PC based? Oh. I guess. Anyway. Shall we go to a Spectrum game? I'm going to have to turn the sound down on this because I'm loading it from tape. And I don't know the controls. Yeah, what I'm doing. Hunchy, which was a port of Hunchback. I turn the loading noises down because I don't think anybody wants to hear those. Right, scroll up. Keyboard. I don't know what the keys are. I think the pitch is a bit wrong here because MAME's spectrum speed is a bit wrong. Now this is a bit of a step back from playing Pang, but I just fancied. What are the controls here? This is one I grew up with. It would help if I had the window in focus, wouldn't it? Oh, that's a jump. This is the problem when you try and play computer games. I know that 0 is jump, and I thought... Okay, there we go. I have it. Yeah, I played a lot of Jet Set Willy. Jet Set Willy, some of the screens are actually influenced by Hunchback. There's an entire section at the top where you're going over the rope. I think isn't it the rope that is actually the Boogie screen that breaks the game? is really a copy of some of the levels in this. Which, if... Well, this is the version of Hunchback I grew up with, not the Ocean port, but this one. I actually found it on a tape when I was going through my old tapes to throw away. It's really difficult. I think you know, the first screen in Hunchback Clone should not be difficult. Yeah, this was also re-released as Punchy, which also had the speech. But yeah, I think most of the memory for the game is taken up by this speech. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's just a case of time and jump. There we go. I have completed the first screen in Hunchy. No, it's... At the time, the speech would have been impressive. This was early 80s. Do I want to collect that? I didn't collect that. I don't know what I want to collect. I don't... Hunchback, again, this is one of the things I was thinking of covering in a video. It was one of those games that as kids we were sort of made to feel was a classic, just like Pac-Man, just like Donkey Kong. I think because it was Ocean's first arcade port, they wanted to give that impression that this was a major arcade game. But these days, very few people talk about Hunchback. I think I'm just going to put the original actually, because I can't get to grips with playing this version on the keyboard. A bit out of practice. Let's see. This is also a weird one because there's several different versions of the game on different hardware with different graphics. Yeah. What was going on? No. Right. I think on this one I might be able to get a bit further. But I don't know why he doesn't just climb up the wall there. I mean, he's gone all the way back here. But, I mean, you have to admit, the graphics are a little ropey for an arcade game. I mean, this is sort of a drunken stagger more than anything, the walk animation. I should be able to play this. Yeah, like I said, back in the day, back in the 80s, everybody would be talking about Hunchback. I think because it was, especially here, because it was developed by a UK company, Century Electronics. So I think we kind of wanted it to be seen as just as big as the Japanese games, the American games. And it's not really been imitated that much in terms of arcade games. Most other arcade games, you've got lots of different clones. This one, the gameplay still holds up as unique in an arcade game. Also, you know, this did have the speech. It came out the year after Qbert, but it's got a very similar idea of a speech. If you do die, which I am surprised I have not yet died. You get a little, you know, blurting of nonsense from the speech chip. I don't think I've played Alley Cat actually. I've heard of Alley Cat but not played it. You don't get a blurting of speech if you just walk off the edge into the fire. Yeah, it's very simple. I do enjoy it now and again. But it's, I mean, compared to Century's other works, this one is actually good. Actually, what happened to this? The speech isn't playing. I don't know. The speech should be playing, but it seems to be broken. But, I mean, the game design doesn't make much sense, because if that guy does manage to climb up, he can miraculously build bridges. Okay. Yeah, where's the speech gone? It's just one of those games from the UK. I think in terms of this, it was more famous on the home computers than it ever really was in the arcades. But it's an 80s classic in some senses, but in other senses, maybe it's best forgotten. Wonder if this one will run. I can't remember what the game's called. Okay, let's just play Thunder Hoop 2 instead. Because I wanted to play a Taito GNet game, but the Weather Tales plus one, but I can't remember the Japanese name.
I'll be back.
Somebody's going to be back. I like the way this game has got a full intro like this. So, does anybody in the chat have any old favourite arcades from 80s, 90s? Anyway, Thunder Hoop Strikes Back, also known as Thunder Hoop 2, but that was never the official title.
You are gonna die.
Very obviously a sort of Dragon Ball inspired character here, but it seems a bit loud. Again, Euro run and gun. This one's Spanish. There's somebody in the chat from Spain earlier, wasn't there? Took a long time for this one to be emulated properly due to the protection in it. Yeah, I do like these Spanish games. This Biomechanical Toy. There's some really playable games. Alligator Hunt as well, if you've ever played Alligator Hunt. Yeah, I think Midnight Resistance had a little more going to it. It's not entirely flat, but this is a bit flatter than Midnight Resistance. This is Thunder Hoop Strikes Back, or Thunder Hoop 2. There was an original, but the original Thunder Hoop is much more of a platform game, and it's still not properly emulated. There's various priority issues. It's marked as working, but there are some quite bad priority issues, and it will crash on a certain stage if you die, which is odd. This one works fine, and this is the one that was protected. Well, the other one was, but that was video RAM encryption instead. No, this is not how you play the game. This is one of the reasons I don't stream so much is because I can just be really bad at the games. And I watch other people do the streams, like BBH, and he'll one credit clear them while talking to the chat. And I don't know how anybody manages. Let's not speak of this. Hula hoop. I do really like Time Pilot. I mean, Dig Dug, I probably prefer the sequel. I know a lot of people don't really like the sequel. I just like the whole overworld look to it, where you've got to work out which parts of the platforms are going to drop when you drill the holes in the ground. I just think it's it feels like an idea that's been copied less. Dig Dug's got that whole Boulder Dash, Mr. Do sort of feel to it, whereas Dig Dug 2, there's not quite as much like it. So I can always play it and feel like it's a fresh game. Did I wasn't looking, did I? Oh dear. See, Thunderhoop has cages like that with the enemies in the original, and the priority to the enemy in MAME ends up appearing over the cage and things like that. It just looks bad. That rat appears to be stuck. But yeah, Gaelco had a good dev team back when these games were released. Yeah, I think that is what it is about Time Pilot. It's just got that silky smooth animation, which is something you associate more with arcade games. But that one especially is just so many of the frames are spent. Yeah, they do sort of like to explode like that. Data East had a game as well, didn't they? Diet Go-Go, where the enemies also inflate and explode with tumble pop derived thing. I'll probably play until I die again on this one. And there we go. Okay, shall we go with a... I think I played this one on stream before, but... Charlie Ninja. If I can find it. There we go. So from one run and gun to another, this one is Charlie Ninja. This one's more Shinobi meets Sunset Riders cartoony style. I don't know how you describe it, but I find the art style in this one to be, again, very memorable. There aren't many games with this exact visual style to them. I guess this is one of those games where people might not be too impressed by the content these days, the stereotypes and everything else, but it's a shame because as a game it holds up really well. I think Super Frog was a little more green and froggy, and faster. Too fast. I don't know. I'm not seeing that comparison for this one. This one's Mitchell, who did a lot of good games. I mean, there's the whole puzzle loop thing, where there's the story with the emulation of that and how apparently Zoomer only came about because somebody played puzzle loop in MAME and that whole mess. And so there's this one. Even an adult one, Party Time, is a good game, which was copied by Yon Sung. Alright, Awesome Panda, how's things? You don't like the cartoon style? I mean, I did like the cartoon. One of the reasons I enjoy playing this one is I just find the whole cartoon style really appealing, and the animation. It doesn't take itself too seriously. This is Charlie Ninja, yeah. This is Charlie Ninja. I think if you want parody Sunset Riders, most people do prefer Cowboys of Mumessa. But I think this one maybe it's got more appeal to me because it's one where I worked on the emulation of it. And so I became more familiar with it, whereas the Konami stuff I've not had much involvement in. I'm very bad at it. I was at Mitchell. There's an unemulated game on Namco System 10 as well that I'm looking forward to seeing the day we actually figure that out. I can't remember the title, but it's meant to be like Cabal. Oh, yeah. Double Wings was not their finest game. Gamshower, that's the one. Yeah, that one looks really interesting. But every time I've looked at System 10, I don't know. It's one of those where I think somebody is going to have to pull the entire code apart and work out what it wants and see if there's anything else hidden in the boards that needs extracting. Because I think all the flash accessors are going through a Namco custom rather than direct, so there could be anything hidden. I don't think Mitchell are around anymore, are they? Somebody bought up all the IP there as well. I seem to remember a few years ago that happening. But yeah, System 10 emulation in general is something I'm looking forward to, because there are a lot of puzzle games on it. There's the rest of the Mr. Driller games, Star Trek on, is it? They all look like games I'd really like to play to understand the mechanics of, but you just don't see them around. Let's see. I'm sure there are other platforms with the Mr. Driller games on, but I've not looked into them yet. And it's always interesting to see how they, how they innovate in services like that. Yeah, System 10 just... But it was the budget system, wasn't it? Which is why it's quite funny that it's still not emulated, because you would have thought budget system, they wouldn't care about protecting, so they put all the medal games on it, put all the cheap to develop puzzle games on it. But I guess they thought it would also be cheap to copy, so they went over the top with all the protection and encryption. I mean, the STV is similar in terms of all these medal games that keep showing up and not always complete dumps. There's, I guess, with that, you couldn't make impressive looking Saturn games, so the hardware just got relegated to doing medal games, because most of those were after the initial life of the platform, really. Same with the Print Club games on there. There's just so many of them. Just where the hardware ended up being used. I'm sure we'll end up finding more of the System H things. Like, the Cool Riders was on there, and there's that Coin Pusher that doesn't run yet, but those boards must have ended up being used somewhere. And Konami, their medal, all those Konami medal games shown lately. I know you put a few of them up on your Twitter, but there's been quite a lot of them emulated or using the standard hardware, and they've been interesting to see. I mean, I wouldn't play any of them for more than 30 seconds to see what they're like, but I appreciate them being emulated and all that. Let's see, what shall I load? Should I just load the PDC 200 and find a random game to play? There we go. This is one of the PDC 200 handheld console computer thing. There's bound to be something in here. There's my clicking. Where we go? So, what game were they ripping off here? Sort of. The thing with all these is, the PDC ones, they're all original art. They're not always original concepts or ideas. The problem is that most of the games are just very simple concepts, but I think if you had to own one of these random multi-game consoles as a kid, you could have done a lot worse than picking up one of these. There's at least, variety in the games, and most games have got 3 levels, bosses, things like that. So they're not going to challenge anybody. But, it's my first console. It's better than the NES-based ones. He does have quite a big nose. It's a bit Japanese Pac-Mania. Not Pac-Mania, Pac-Land. So these all seem competently programmed. With a lot of these, I just think, what if somebody took the game and expanded on it? Used some of the assets, made something better, something more complete. Although I guess you would just go with the original Ninja Baseball Batman. It's clear that whoever made them had played some of the arcade games and just thought, let's do something with that theme. But, yeah, it's one of those surprises from the year where I thought I wasn't expecting anything from this. We got them cheap in France because VideoJet seemed to sell a lot of them over there. No footage of... There was a footage of maybe the early units, the PDC sort of 30-40. But for the rest of the 200 games, didn't know what to expect. And some of them were pleasantly surprising. I mean, there's a cheap Desert Strike knockoff in them, amongst other things, and you're thinking, yeah, that a considerable amount of effort went into actually developing that. Anyway. Let's have a look at this. That was my backup list. I don't know. Anyway, I don't really want to play too much of this. I played these to death trying to record footage for the upcoming video. So I prefer to prepare these streams. I have a better idea of what I want to stream. No, that'll take forever to boot. I didn't prepare that. I was going to put Viper Phase 1 on, but they've not got the NVRAMs initialized, and they take a long time. And I'm terrible at the game. It's a case of what's coming to mind. Let's put Espgaluda on. Again, completely out of practice on this one, but as the cave shooters go, this one was probably my favourite. You've got the whole... I think the NVRAM on SPI is still pretty slow with fast forward. I think it's only about 110–20%. It's not great. I mean, the game's run fine after that, but that NVRAM process, the flash process, just is really slow since some changes a few years ago. Visually, this one reminds me a bit of Gunbird. I think it's the perspective on the background. This is not how you play this game. I completely forgot to use the charge attack, the hold attack. Oh, the one with the Comad ones with SimCity graphics. Yeah, air attack, I think it is. Was it? Obviously, I'm terrible at these cave games. I used to be all right at this one. I think I got to the last level on you know, a credit, but I've not played them since we got them emulated, and that is not. It's a case of knowing when to switch into the slow motion mode on this one as well to get the bonuses like that. I mean, I love the look of the bullet hell games, and this, I think, I find this to be one of the easy ones, but in general, I can't play them. I would just appreciate them as art forms. Like, I love to watch people play them. I was watching BBH's Gigawing 1 credit recently, and they're mesmerising, the patterns. That wasn't a good moment. Yeah, Guwango is one of the most stylish ones, and was one I played a fair bit, but it gets really tricky very quickly, and that's on the older hardware with the unique zooming effect where it separates the pixels rather than just enlarges the sprites, and all those that gives a very distinctive look to. You can identify this on that hardware just from the effect, because there aren't any other platforms that do that I'm aware of anyway. Whereas these were on a PGM based board, which is the Taiwanese IGS's board, but I still find them to be Cave's best work. I think the extra resolution helps with the artwork, and the games themselves strike a good balance. I mean, people say Ketsui is far too hard, but I don't know, I don't find that to be one of the... It's not crazy like some of the later ones. The sound emulation was improved recently. I mean, I think, was it this year or last year? The fades on these fade out effects on things like Dodonpachi 2 are much better than they used to be. Before it would just kind of make a weird stuttery sound instead of fading down. But again, I think it was Cam that improved that. I mean, you know, a lot of his best work seems to just go unnoticed, because people notice what gets broken instead. That's emulation in general, though. You can make 100 improvements and people just pick out the things that got broken. So that's what happened with the slapstick changes. You know, Rampart's fixed, but Gauntlet broke, so people weren't kind. But, yeah, there have been quite a lot of sound improvements over the years. Obviously, you've got ones that people don't talk about so much, like this one, and you've got the Qubit one that everybody noticed because Qubit suddenly sounds like Qubit again, and the CPS Q sound from a few years ago. Just tends to be overlooked. I think it's one reason I couldn't get much interest in trying to get the multi-sound stuff working. People just don't care as much about sound as you might expect. When it is improved and you're used to hearing the broken sound, it does feel like a worthwhile improvement. Best strategy. I'd probably be calling the stream after this game. I just wanted to try and get a setup working again so that, well, you know, keep myself fresh with the software, update everything in OBS, make sure that when I do want to just sit down and stream something, it's there and ready, because these things do tend to rot a little bit. I had to find where all the files had gone for the backgrounds because I'd moved everything around. But, anyway, so yeah, thank you to everybody for joining in and watching and participating in the chat, because you know, it's always good to have people to talk to while doing this, even if I end up playing the games far worse while I'm talking to people. Although I did alright with that game, which is odd because that was probably the most difficult of the games. But anyway, right, so a good evening, and if any of you are around later and say, I'll probably be on Nicky and Bunty's Twitch stream this evening, and followed by Zypho for the CPC stuff. They're both very good streamers, so if you like your retro stuff, your games, you know, be sure to check them out because they're good people and they do a good job in the community. Always good to follow them. Anyway, say good night, everybody, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.